What is Ungespundet? What does that word mean? Is it a style? Is it a category? Do they all taste the same? Where's it from? What's it like? What do you eat with it? All of that. Well, let's find out. This beer is an example from a little town called Schammelsdorf, which is outside the city of Bamberg. And Bamberg is in a region of Germany called Franconia, and you can find this region just north of Munich. The Bamberg town, or the city of Bamberg, is known for their smoked beers. But around that region, there are a lot of these beers around called Ungespundet. Basically translates into un-bunged, or you can think of that as like cask ale. Based on that, we're expecting a little lower carbonation, and typically this would be served out of a cask. So some people would say that the Ungespundet style or category is more of a sense of place. So having it in a bottle isn't really going to be like the true representation of this style. So you'll have to go to that region to try it. This technically fits in the BJCP under the historical styles category, 27A. And for that category, it's Keller beer. Keller beer and Ungespundet are similar. You could say they're like each other, but think of it like cask beer in England. Just because you took a pale ale and you put it on cask, or you took a porter and you put it on cask, doesn't mean that all cask ale is the same, right? It just means that that serving mechanism has a bit of an impact on how the beer is perceived. Usually lower carbonation, but that's what Ungespundet means kind of in a nutshell. Then if we try to then say, okay, well, what is it like in general? Okay, it's probably gonna be something like a Märzen, or it might be something like a Pilsner or a Helles. So you would use those kind of as like your base styles for that. As far as what to look for other examples, Mars Brew, M-A-H-R-S, Mars Brew Ungespundet is probably the most internationally available example, so you can go pick up one of those. Better yet, you go visit these little towns and you get them straight from the source. That's really what the Ungespundet is all about. As far as this example here, I'll share my kind of overall impression with this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the food. So this is what I would categorize as more or less a Pilsner, a German-style Pilsner. There's a bit more of a full mouthfeel than typical, and the bitterness is actually a little lingering. And that would be kind of part of this un-bunged, sort of less refined version of the beers that we expect a little bit more bitterness from them. But in terms of food, the bitterness is the piece that's lingering here, so I am immediately thinking of things like fat, grease, oil to kind of cut through that. Also looking for maybe some creamy texture, so if I'm going for cheese and I want to go for something that has a nice creamy texture, but not too bland and soft, because the bitterness needs a little something to play with. It needs some grease to kind of, or fat to cut through, but underneath there you do have a really lovely malt profile. So as far as this brewery and this beer, this example, it's a 5.3% example. It's from Brauerei Naublock from the little town of Schammelsdorf. Really a lovely beer. That kind of sums it up for this talk here, but this is for all intents and purposes the 27A Keller beer category, also known as the Ungespundet. Get to Germany, go try these beers. This is the type of beer that you really have to travel to really experience fully, because the food, the place, having it super fresh, all of that's going to totally change your perception of this beer. Definitely go get your hands on one of the commercial examples if you can. That's it for now. Enjoy. Have a fantastic day. Cheers.